Hey everyone, welcome back to the Steep. So in this episode, we're actually going to take a look at installing and running Pentestcode. So if you're not familiar with it, it's actually one in another sequence of AI-enabled penetration testing tools. And in this case, it's really more automated than anything else. So if you're not super familiar with it, it's just an autonomous pen testing agent for your terminal. So you can go ahead and just type in Pentestcode and GitHub, and that should bring you to Soldier's Pentestcode repository. And from here, we're actually going to run a curl. But before we do run this curl command, we're not going to pipe it into bash just yet. We really want to see what it does. So let's take an up arrow and do that really quickly. And we'll scroll up a little bit so we can kind of step through this. All right, so here we go. So in this case, it's just giving us its use statement and then setting some particular options for us. So if we're trying to figure out what the latest and greatest is, we can do that. In this case, it's going to default to the pentest directory or pentestcode install directory of .localbin, which is great. And then we're setting all the particular instance here. We could modify this if we wanted to, but not a big deal. Then we've got some helper scripts here in terms of what they're going to be doing. As well as the nitty gritty of the code. So I'm not going to read this to you, but it's going to basically download our package based on the architecture that we're in and what we need to get up and running. So from this standpoint, please do go through the code at your leisure and make sure you fully understand what it's there for and what it's doing prior to running it. The last thing I want you to do is run something against your production system or clobber something and then be upset because you lost some data or it's not doing what you expect it to do. So again, fair warning, right? Be familiar with all the scripts that you use. So, all right, enough lecture. Let's go ahead and jump right into this. So we're going to pass this right into bash, and hopefully this is going to install as well. And this is the first time I'm actually downloading and installing this gzip file, so we'll take a look. So this sounds great. So now we should be able to simply run pentestcode, and hopefully it executes for us. Now, the other step, if it does go ahead and execute for us, the other step I want to kind of show you is I've already tied in, as you can see from the prompt here, I've already tied in Claude, right? So I'm using the Claude Sonnet model 4.6. And if you go over here to just a standard prompt, in this case, I think I'm using Gemini's Google, and just type in, hey, in Pentestcode, where do I set my API key? Because that is something you will see in the instruction. You do need to tie it to a local language model or a large language model. So in this case, what I just did kind of eludes or skips this auth login step since I pointed it already at my particular Anthropic key or my API key. And if you need assistance with doing that, again, if you just say, hey, how can I export my Anthropic key? It'll give you some shell syntax as well, so you can follow along. In this case, I did, since I do have mine in a path, right, I did go ahead and export in this fashion, so I'm following this. But obviously, if you're on Windows or using PowerShell or a command prompt, you have two additional options here that you can leverage. All right, so once we're in here, we can simply type within the prompt, right? So in this case, we could say, hey, scan these services and enumerate all services. So, and this is kind of a one shot. So if we do that, let's see if we get anything here. I'm just going to copy this in really quickly and say, hey, scan 10/0/24 and enumerate all services. Now, in all fairness, I don't have anything running on the 10/10/10 network. So hopefully this aborts and tells us, hey, there's nothing there, but let's give it a shot. So, and in this case, it's telling me, hey, my API key is invalid. So obviously I got a little bit of homework to do. So I do have an API key that's valid. So I need to take a look and see why that isn't actually firing. So in this case, that will kind of walk us through the process. So once you get your particular API key involved and squared away, you should be able to see this, right? And it should be able to print out some dialogue. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video so I can get my API actually functioning, and then I'll come back in and we'll actually run through this again so you can see what it looks like. All right, be right back. Thank you. Okay, we're back. And the reason we were having issue is simply what you might expect, right? So in order for Pentestcode to work under the hood, it really needs to be the root user account. So while you can do some fancy dancing around your particular lower level account, I would recommend against it. We actually want to keep this pretty straightforward and simple. So go ahead and install, run that curl command as root after you've kind of confirmed things. And then once you run it, you can see here that if we actually do run a one-liner with Pentestcode and say, hey, go ahead and give me everything that I need here and scan a particular system. In this case, it's grabbing Big Pickle as the open code for the model. And I'm just going to do 192.168.0.71 and fire that away. You can see that it's actually going to start and do some testing, which is great. So, all right, now if you have different models like Anthropic and whatnot that you want to switch to, go ahead and do so. But again, your mileage may vary a little bit. So just bear that in mind. All right, that takes care of this video. We'll talk to you next time. Thanks.